Breaking tonight, First Lady Melania Trump spoke today unexpectedly about convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump.
It's not known why the First Lady gave these remarks today. Her husband has repeatedly said the country needs to move on from the Epstein investigation, but Melania Trump had a decidedly different message.
I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth.
In a brief call with MS Now, Donald Trump said he had no prior knowledge of the topic of the First Lady's remarks. Neither the president nor the First Lady have been charged with any crimes related to Epstein, and both deny any wrongdoing. Simone, I got to go to you with this one, because it seems to me, if I'm putting my beat reporter hat on now, someone's doing some sort of investigation, and someone in the First Lady's orbit said, we want to get out ahead of this. We went back and thought...
Or the First Lady said she wants to get out ahead of it.
But there's nothing that would suggest to just throw this out on a Thursday afternoon. There's no anniversary. There's no upcoming investigation. There's no congressional testimony. It just seemingly came out of the blue.
It is strange. If I were at the White House today, I think Nick Clemens would be the one person we all wanted to speak to. Nick Clemens is the communications director for the First Lady. He's also a special assistant to the president. Now, there have been many times, this does feel like there was an inquiry that was made to the First Lady's office, that there's some information, some story or something was happening. And when something of that nature rises to the level, you do tell the principal about it. And so it wouldn't be surprised if the First Lady was made aware of some kind of inquiry or some kind of line of questioning. And it seems to me that she said, okay, well, I've had enough of what I'm seeing on the internet, what I'm hearing in the whispers. I want to say something about it.
I think that in combination with the fact that she's been silent on the plight of these women and have not expressed, as I suspect most First Ladies in the recent past would have something to say about this. That maybe that combination of forces kind of pushed her into this moment. Probably, like you both said, more egged on by the reality that there's a story that's about to break in the next few days.
If it wasn't, it's definitely breaking now.
Well, there is that.
And catching the president off guard.
And the question is, what does that look like?
And I will just say, I was shocked that she called for survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's abuse to be heard in Congress, because that's something we've heard from Democrats and the survivors themselves for months. And to see the First Lady said it, it's like, well, come on, Congress.
It resurrects the issue and puts the impetus on the Republicans in charge of those committees to make it happen.
Mr. Comer, the phone's ringing.
Yeah, about to say, they have the keys to make this all go forward. Joining us now is Annie Farmer, a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's abuse. Thank you so much for being on the program, Ms. Farmer. Just real quickly, first question, how do you react to First Lady Melania Trump issuing this statement today rather unexpectedly?
Well, first off, it's great to see y'all again. Thanks for having me this evening. It was a surprise. It was a surprise for all of us. And, I don't want to speculate about her motivations for doing so. I think that there certainly are some survivors that would be interested in that kind of public hearing. But also, I think it's hard at this point, for us to trust the motivations of coming out of the federal government. We really, don't want to distract from some of the most pressing issues at hand. And one of those is Pam Bondi, who I know we're going to speak more about. So, what we care most right now at this moment about is having her testify under oath.
Can I just note, you all put you and your sister put out a statement on the Bondi News yesterday. I'm going to read a little bit from it. Survivors have waited nearly 3 decades for answers. How much longer must we wait? The Department of Justice's mishandling of the Epstein files not only betrayed the trust of survivors, but has left us with critical questions unanswered. Until Bondi's deposition happens and her testimony is given under oath, we will continue asking Congress to use every lever possible to ensure justice is served. You know what? Your point in your comments that you just made, Annie, and then in reading your statement, you all have said a lot. I think it is time for the government to say a little bit more. And I am again shocked, but also struck by the fact that the First Lady is calling for you all to go before Congress and for the cameras to be on you and not the government, who does need to explain to the American people what the hell is going on here.
Yeah, I think that sums up some of the other survivors I spoke with, the reactions well. It's like, we shouldn't have this burden. There's been a lot of emphasis on name names. And really, we've said over and over again, so many survivors have spoken with the government, have named names. Now we're asking them to do their jobs, to do the investigations, and to give us the transparency and accountability that we have repeatedly asked for. And so I think that was one of the things that was kind of concerning about the statement today.
And where I come down on this is frustration on a number of levels. And you've probably heard it from time to time when we've been together. And that is this incredible push up against this seemingly immovable force of this administration to sort of lock itself in and to sort of build this ever increasingly tall wall, making it harder for us to climb over. What the First Lady did today was take a sledgehammer to parts of that wall, in my view, because now we have the videotape of the First Lady of the United States calling on the United States Congress, Mr. Comer, the phone's ringing, to have a hearing with the survivors, to have their stories out there, to make this more public. My frustration still remains in place because, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. This administration, with Pam Bondi, knows that they will do everything they can to not have that happen. And they've already started she doesn't have to appear. Oh, she'll be a private citizen soon. The subpoena said they wanted Pam Bondi, Attorney General, not Pam Bondi, private citizen. And Mr. Garcia, Representative Garcia, has made it very clear. No. It said Pam Bondi. And so the fact that she could not even look at the survivors when she was giving testimony with them standing behind her tells me that they will continue to do everything they can to not have her testify, because it will not be a good day for her in whatever room that hearing is held in.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what we're anticipating as well. But we're already, pushing back against that. And I think that, the fact is she was in charge of the DOJ when this release happened, and there were countless failures, which we have discussed previously, right? Survivors' identities not protected with terrible consequences for them, redactions of people that should not have been protected. And then, as we've discussed, we don't have all the files. The law clearly states that all of the files are to be released. And based on their estimates, we have about half of them. And there hasn't been any clear explanation about that point. And so, I think that frustration is maybe an understatement for what we're feeling with one more delay in terms of getting answers to these questions that I do believe, really, based on some conversations, I've been a part of recently, that is really, there's a bipartisan interest in having these questions answered. And for people like my sister, Maria Farmer, who, we all now know, if we've seen the report, she was trying to bring attention to this in 1996. The wait has been extremely long, and we are ready to get answers.
All right, Annie Farmer, thank you so much for taking time to be with us.
Thank you for your voice, Annie. I know it's not easy.
So good to see y'all.